Welcome in to the Subconscious Mind Mastery Podcast. You know, I've been looking forward to this episode for over a month now, working toward it, anticipating it, putting intentions into it, dreaming about it, and now here we are. I am excited to have this conversation with you. Hi, everybody. Thomas Miller. Welcome back if you're returning, if you're new. Boy, you caught us at an interesting time. We're adding another log on our fire around here. This is the first of two big December announcements in 2023. There will be another podcast coming right behind this to complement it, and then one more big announcement probably next week. You can't have too many in a row, you know. Okay, here's the deal. So I think everybody knows, you wouldn't be here if you didn't, that there is a shift going on for a lot of us. And I'm experiencing that shift too, right there with you. Old structures are changing, and that means old structures in our lives as well. So many of you are talking about this shift in friendships, in relationships, affiliations, and even directions that has been taking place recently. The other thing I think we all know is that there is this, as they've said, separation of timelines. In other words, there is a higher timeline and a lower timeline path that we all are finding and we're being led into. And the drumbeat that I'm hearing behind this is for each of us in our own way, in our own space, on our own path, to position for these shifts that are coming and are here and are taking place. Level Up, for example, the thing that we do on Sunday nights on our Facebook group page, Subconscious Mind Mastery and Fun Astrology podcast listeners, and also on our YouTube channel. That's under the Fun Astrology YouTube channel. But I had no idea that Level Up would be going strong 2 years down the road. We thought 2 months, maybe 6 weeks. But that's because of you joining every week. The shift is underway. I'm going to tell you the story, the backstory of how this came together. And you remember, I've told it so many times, it's repetitious now. I was filling up water bottles to go on a bicycle ride in 2013. I had the book Levels of Energy sitting on my nightstand. I had no idea who this author was, or even if it was a pen name. But I heard in my ears, I heard in my heart, email Fred Dodson about narrating his audiobooks. I had been trying to get into audiobook narration, various little paths that I had taken, and Fred responded, "Let's do it." And that was about 40 books ago, over 10 years. That little prompt established me as an audiobook narrator. It allowed me to perfect a skill, the 10,000 hours behind this microphone. And it also allowed ongoing royalty income. That has been a reason that I've been able to do these podcasts for you, is because there's been enough there that I've been able to navigate with it, the income from those royalty books. Whenever you buy a book, that rings the register, and it keeps the wheels on the bus around here. Then you know, if you follow the path, that between about 2015, late 15 into 2018, I spent that time in Aspen, Colorado. And it was there that we narrated most of the quote-unquote backlog of all the books that Fred had written up until that time. These weren't new. They were already out. They were already there. This is what was kind of known categorically as the reality creation series of books. It included things like Parallel Universes of Self, Levels of Energy, and Reality Creation Technique, and a lot of those old books that you have probably bought and have listened to, and they've probably influenced your life positively. I hope they have. Then about 5 years ago, the timeline was about 2018, Fred began shifting his interest as an author away from what he had written prior to about then, or say 2013, that backlog that we did in Aspen. And the new shift was around interesting topics, but not how to live your life on the highest timeline, like it was in the early books. And he himself said that he was more interested now in these other topics. Well, fast forward to today, and many of you know that recently I chose not to finish the book that was the latest one here at the end of 2023 because of some graphic material that was in 2 chapters But I skipped over those 2 chapters and finished the rest of the book, cover to cover, except those 2, and then went back to Fred with my concerns. But he didn't like that, honestly, and wanted the whole book or nothing. Well, being a team player, I did try over that next week to return to that material a couple of times. But everything inside of me was screaming in my ears and my heart and my body and in my solar plexus and everything not to read those words. And I mean totally for the record, as I've said here before, that I had no problems with the rest of the book. In fact, I told him it was the best introduction that he had ever written. That was in an email 3 weeks or so prior to this, maybe 4. But I just didn't want my voice in your earbuds creating those images in your mind. That's not what we've done together for the last 10 years. It's not the podcasts. It's not Level Up on Sunday night. And it's not what I wanted memorialized out there in something that was irretractable. But I even suggested to Fred that he take the rest of the book, the 80% of the book that I'd finished. He could read the graphic chapters, put the whole book together, and I didn't want any compensation. I said, here, just take it. It's done. Well, for his reasons, and he's the rightful author, I respect that absolutely, he declined that offer. And this is where it gets interesting, because all of this happened. When I do the Fun Astrology podcast, we're not kidding. Listen to this. All of this happened on the day before, the Friday before, and the day of, the Saturday of, the partial solar eclipse in October 2023. That was a very powerful eclipse. It had a lot of tension built into it, and things were shifting in the world because the Hamas attack on Israel on October 7th was 1 week before that eclipse. The planetary alignments were of tension and conflict and realignment, and that was the macro theme in the world as all of this unfolded. I don't know that it's shifted that much as I'm recording this now in early December, but that was certainly prominent then, and it was attached to an eclipse, which is always very powerful. So you think this astrology stuff, is out there or whatever. I mean, here it is. Just look at this unfolding. Well, the email that I received that Saturday morning, so this was about 2 hours before the eclipse, Fred sent this email rejecting my offer, which is fine, but it also was not the kind of email that I would think that somebody who has been working together over 10 years would be honored to receive. And I'm not going to go into the details, but let's just say that I felt bombed after receiving that, and not in any kind of way correlating that to what's going on in the world headlines. I'm just saying that tense energy, that kind of energy that was in the macro came down to the micro, and I just felt down. And I know that some of you have been going through this in your marriages, in your relationships, in your jobs, in your health. You just feel attacked and hurt. And then our eyes are watching these scenes from around the world, and I mean, it's a lot. But Fred Dodson, for me, has been a mentor. He's been a role model. He's been somebody that I looked at and emulated my life after some of the characteristics and patterns that I saw him doing. He was a guy that changed my entire life's course, and I can tell you that until my last sip of air, I will always be grateful to him for that. Whatever direction he takes as an author and with his work is fine. That's his total choice. Plus, he's got about 16 planets in Aquarius, so you're not going to tell him what to do. And that's all great, and he'll be very good at it. And I hope that that work has helped you a lot, too. And there's great stuff in there. All right, so it's Saturday of the eclipse in October of 2023. I just got this bomb of an email. I'm feeling down. I'm feeling hurt. I'm feeling shocked. But we have an eclipse over our head, and Thomas does ceremonies on solar eclipses. So I did my little ceremony there in the morning, and I kind of blocked it out. I just set it aside. It's like, well, okay, we'll visit that later. And I had this amazing ceremony, played some nice soft music that I love, and lit some candles, set the mood in my place, and just spent some alone time. And the fall colors were just brilliant outside the window, so it was easy to make a chunk shift over to something else. Well, it was Saturday. It had been a long morning, and I think I took a nap right after the eclipse in my recliner. And then, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, So let's say 2 hours after the eclipse window had basically closed, this absolute flood of a download came to me, and that's what's being announced today. It was along the same lines of put your water bottles down and email this guy about narrating his audiobooks. It truly was. It was a crystal clear vision, and it said to create a publishing company, and the name was to be High Timeline Publishing. Didn't even have to think about the name. It was just there. And what it was to be was a summary or a feature of high timeline books, audiobooks, resources that you can use to live your highest timeline. It was to be a place to put all that incredible body of work of narrating those audiobooks over the last 10 years into a place where you can easily search Fred's work by topic. You want to bone up on intuition? Well, that's what we're featuring first this month. You want the Levels of Energy series? They're together. You want the reality creation books? They're together. You want the material on the Pleiades and Atlantis? That's together as well. So we're going to showcase the positive, the life-changing stuff, and we're going to put it right up there on display so you can pick what you need for your next step up the highest timeline ladder. So all of a sudden, I was excited. I mean, this was like whatever that other thing was going on, goodbye. I mean, that was like out of the picture. This was like taken over. But the download continued because I had just recently also recorded a podcast with Michelle Blood. You remember her. She's been on here 2 other times. But this interview was about a new video book that she had recently completed. And it was to be the feature book when we released the site. So I told her what I was thinking, and she was totally all for it. And the first words out of her mouth, as you'll hear in the next episode, "How can I help you, Thomas? How can I help you with this?" And she offered her team to help me build the website at no cost. Man, I get choked up even now. That's high energy. That's high timeline. So we set the podcast aside so we could build the website, and now that podcast will follow this podcast so you can hear about this new concept of this video book that I can tell you is some kind of high energy in and of itself. But the downloads continued because this site was to also feature other high timeline books from other authors. So we have, for example, Dr. Joe Dispenza, You Are the Placebo, a book that I absolutely love and just sets your world on fire about how our body wraps itself around our thoughts to fulfill them. And then good old Burt Goldman. I love this guy. It's kind of a complement, kind of a sidecar to Parallel Universes of Self, a technique that Fred mentioned in that book, but Burt Goldman connects with a doppelganger. And I've talked about it on here quite a bit. Done it, actually, and it works great, where you connect with another version of yourself in another reality. Then, from the download and from another website that I had visited, all of the links on this site, High Timeline Books, is to affiliate links so that I make money off of everything that you get from this site. And to that end, Michelle has been so generous by providing a very nice affiliate relationship. Fred has been so generous to allow me to participate in the ongoing revenue of the audiobooks. But there are other links. Everything will go back to Amazon for now. So if you click on something, Thomas is getting a little bit of money from that site. So I would really appreciate it and really love it if you are ordering those kinds of books. Stop there first. See if there's something that interests you, because it helps support this podcast. We've been able to do this for 10 years with no outside advertising, and I would really love to keep it that way. Wouldn't you? So then, a little bit of time, I told Fred about it, and he likes the concept, and we're even talking about converting all of his audiobook sales to direct sales through this site next year. But baby steps for now. But you could see that how all of a sudden, in a matter of hours, literally, I felt light and free and inspired, and like all of a sudden, through that eclipse, the hand of the universe had touched my shoulder and said, here's your new direction. So one of the things is I've been building out this site. I want to go back for myself and re-listen to those old reality creation books from Fred, because I want to take my game up 10 more notches. And I'm going to devour a bunch of Michelle's information. She worked directly with Bob Proctor for years, developing products and working in his seminars and singing at his events. And she has that power that Bob Proctor had when he was at his prime. And Michelle and I have talked about several co-venture ideas that are in the hopper that we're going to be working on. I'll tell you, I love her energy, her vibrance, and especially that willingness to help. First words out of her mouth. How can I help you with this, Thomas? And I know I keep saying this, but there's more. This was a big one. This was a big solar eclipse download. Okay, so after that day, here was the challenging email. Here was feeling sad and down. Here was the eclipse ceremony. Here was the download. Here was the excitement, already digging in, got the URLs, da-da-da-da-da. I'm going to say that about 4 people contacted me saying that they were writing books. So I was able to tell them about the new site. They were excited, and it was like, wow, multiple confirmations. Amazing. And then just recently, our Sarah Wakeman from our Facebook group, she and I had a conversation, and she's in some transitions right now, and we're going to be working together on one of her strongest suits, which is social media engagement, because she's hearing some of the same things in her circles in Kansas City, people writing books. Well, I don't know how this is going to evolve. I know it will be a whole different game than what you see right now as it unfolds, but this is going to be a new way of delivering this kind of content. And then another longer range goal for this would be to create this platform as a distribution for many of you who have high timeline books within you. You remember Wayne Dyer, he said, don't die with the music still in you. Well, I would say now is the time to put your high timeline ideas out into the world, and we're going to create a platform for you to have access to be able to do that. There will be a lot of support to get your message out, because that, I think, if you consider the astrology of Pluto getting ready to enter Aquarius, is about not the consolidation of big publishing houses. It's about each of us getting our voice out. Social media was a start, but I don't think we've seen anything yet, especially related to the shift. So I could not be more excited about the times ahead. I don't remember where I ran across that line, living my highest timeline. I wish I remembered, but I just love that visual image because you can take it to any area of your life. And my focus and my commitment is going to be bringing you resources to help you do that all the time. So this is a new chapter in my life and certainly in our journey together, and it is thrilling. So just remember for now, when you click on the links on that page, it helps support this show, me, and this podcast. But most importantly, it makes it easy for you to find your next book. You know, the question, what book should I read next? Well, it'll come from here, hopefully. And, of course, the inventory will change frequently because we're going to keep dropping these things in so that it just keeps fresh all the time so you can be encouraged to pick up new things that will help you on your journey. Now, in the next episode, following this one, is my interview with Michelle Blood on this new, very powerful, high-energy video book on manifesting. And when I was just watching through it, I caught the high vibe wave that is intended into this book. It's amazing. I mean, it's an uplifter. And oh my goodness, was that ever so refreshing. So in the next episode, she's going to tell us the story, how it came about. We go through some of the chapters, including on enlightenment, which is a very big deal for her. She explains why. And you'll feel that Bob Proctor magic that certainly she picked up on and has made her own. So you can go to hightimelinebooks.com. It's ready. It's live. I do hope you enjoy it. And if you're in our Facebook group, I would love your comments on it. Or you can put it on the funastrology.com website in that little chat bot down in the lower right. And I would really appreciate your thoughts on it. And I appreciate your support. I am so grateful. Keep in mind, this is just a start. It's just the launch. What you see today will pale in comparison to what it will look like very soon. And as we transition from this podcast to the next one, I would especially like to thank Michelle, Trevor, and Johnny for their help in putting this together. Gratitude is one of the highest vibrations, and I am so grateful for you guys and all that you've done for this and just embracing it as well. These are amazing people, and it's been a pleasure. So check out the site, catch the next interview, and we have one more big announcement coming, probably in about a week. So thank you so much for listening to this. I hope you really enjoy this as a resource, that you bookmark it and make it a part of your regular stops when you say, what's next for my highest timeline? We'll see you on the next episode, and from here on out, enjoy the journey. I'm Thomas Miller. Thanks for listening.